It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to be with us today, whether you're watching or listening this morning. Back.
Thank you.
Gary was here last week and we were talking about fire prevention week,
right? Smoke
alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, but mostly smoke alarms. And then I was, well, do you want to come back this week, just talk general basic wintertime safety stuff? Because we do these stories every year, and it's heartbreaking to do those stories where people close the fireplaces, space heaters, and then it seems inevitable, but a house destroyed by one of these things.
And that's correct. And there is some. And I think what happens is, in many cases, when you talk to home, we've gone through summer, into the fall. We don't quite make that transition. It gets cold real quick. Mm-hmm. We don't end up going, hey, there's a couple things we needed to do. I'll take care of them this weekend. We need to do this. Thing goes wrong. And then, unfortunately, we end up having to go to work. And so what we're trying to do is just remind folks there's some simple steps they can take, some things they can look at a little bit, and make it so they have an enjoyable winter.
Well, let's, like we do in the summer, when summer arrives, just before the monsoon, we do the defensible space. Mm-hmm. Let's start outside the house. What should we be looking for on the outside of our house as winter sets in here?
Well, let's just talk about something that's really pretty important when we think about it, is that, do I know where you live? And many times I ask people that question, they kind of chuckle. Yes, and I go, so at 2 o'clock in the morning, driving down the road, and I'm looking visible. Well, think about how much rain we've had, how much growth we've had. Well, I mean, when we were kind of remodeling and putting some new cabinets in the kitchen, and the pizza guy was coming pretty regular. And what had happened is that the bush in front of my house numbers had grown up.
Oh.
When I got a new pizza guy, he couldn't find my house. And of course, wife and I are going, what do you mean you can't find our house? You've been here how many times? Well, what had happened was just that, because we drive in, and actually in my house, I live on a corner house, so I don't go in the front door. So I don't even hardly notice it. But that's exactly what had happened. Uh-huh. The bushes had grown up, and so that I couldn't see the number of my house, which means if I couldn't see it, and I live there, emergency crews responding couldn't see it. So what I ask a lot of folks to do is just when you get there, when you're going home tonight, just look and say, hey, if I didn't know exactly where it's going and I was looking for, where's my number?
Good point.
Be posted on the house underneath the light. Those who have a long driveway, still needs to be there. Put it out by the front driveway. There's lots of solar lighting that you can use to make it work. Because remember, what we're trying to reduce is that response time. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that engine captain come back on the radio and ask for us to contact the reporting party. Come out, do something, verify the address. That all takes time. And it's something, and again, I'm the good example. Why? I know where I live. Shoot, most of us could pull in almost blindfolded. Mm-hmm. But the idea is, so take a look. And I think that's a great place to start, because it's getting darker earlier, and so we're going to need that. Just think about it. Is that number visible? And some folks have asked, well, what size? Minimum 4 inches. 6 inches is better. Reflective is great. Solar light, or use the light on the house. Come up with a way so that, never been to your house, can I find it?
Find it.
So I think that's a great place to start as you start to walk around your home.
Now, last week I was telling you how I'm getting ready to get my wood stove fired up. I got cords of wood coming in and everything else, and you brought up the point that maybe I need to take a look at that chimney and see if anything's grown up against it. And sure enough, I looked over the weekend, and the one tree next to my house, 4 limbs have grown. Actually, one of them has grown into the what's that thing on the top?
The spark arrestor.
Yes, the spark arrestor. It's actually grown into it a little bit, so I had to get up on the roof and chop those off. But I hadn't thought about that.
Well, and part of it is too is that when you think about it, how many times have you had to cut your weeds? I mean, we've had a lot of rain this year. We've had a lot of growth. Mm-hmm. So the vegetation's naturally going to grow when it's going to have the rain and the good weather. So we just need to evaluate it, and that's an easy way to do, is to just kind of walk around your house, and what are you looking for? So you look up there and you go, okay, how close is it? Rule of thumb, 10 feet. Okay, beginning of the season, I'd be a little more aggressive, cut it back a little more, so that because it's going to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. But the idea is you don't want to have it where some sparks get up in there and ends up causing a problem. and then we end up, again, the fire department would end up having to come to work. So evaluate that. And that's a great place to start, because you can go there and go, okay, I've looked at that, and now I can continue to walk around the house and looking at other areas. You know how we talk about being fire-wise in the summer? Well, it's equally important even during the winter season. And here's what's going to happen. The vegetation is going to die back, so you want to take advantage of that, and you're going to want to continue to do your trimming. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot more work in the spring. So just start looking at where that vegetation is. You talked about your wood pile. So where is your wood pile?
Yeah, it's not up against my house, I can tell you that much. It is, I want to say the closest one is probably a good 10 feet from my house.
Okay, so the idea is that, you know, we use a number 30 feet. And here's what the challenge with 30 feet is that some of us don't have 30 feet.
Right, I don't have 30 feet.
Right, so you've got to take your home and evaluate it and take the steps to make it as safe as you can. So you want to get it far enough away from the house so that if something happens, that the fire doesn't come into your home from the outside. Okay, so that's a good step. The other thing is with the wood pile, make sure it's properly stacked. Make sure it's clearly accessible, okay? And periodically check it for rodents, because they're also going to start looking. It's getting cold.
Yeah.
So that little pack rat, you know, that I think a lot of us, I've had experience with it.
Sure, I bumped into one.
Yep, and then they end up, you know, they're looking for a warm place to sleep just like we are.
Sure.
So you want to make it so it's inhospitable.
Okay.
And if you can do that, then they're going to go live somewhere else.
All right, okay. Does that cover outside pretty good? I mean, leaves, we should probably get leaves.
Yeah, you know, pick up your leaves. Gutters.
Gutters,
you know, one of the things that I think that you can look at is, one of the things I look at is that we've had some good rain. Where's that water go? So let's just start at the house. Have the gutters been cleaned out? Because when it dumps, you don't want them pulling away and doing damage.
Right.
So the idea is, and see where that water moves away from the home. Have you got some bar ditches? Maybe they filled up over the summer with some you know, either debris, vegetation, or just the runoff soil, the silt and so forth. You want to make sure that they're ready for your winter rains, because people go, well, I don't need flood insurance because I'm not close to where it's going to flood. Remember, bar ditches overflow. They don't drain properly. Where's that water going to go? So pay attention to that and see. And I think if you do that, make that lap around the house and look at some of those things, then you'll avoid some issues. Because if you have, you know, it's kind of like when it rains and you have roofing issues. If you know you got a roofing issue, you don't take care of it and wait till it rains, you and everybody else is calling the roofer. And that poor guy's got more work than he can handle.
Right.
So, you know, be proactive. Life will be good.
Okay, all righty. Let's jump into, let's go inside. Okay, so let's start with wood stoves. We'll hit that one before we take our first break. Wood stoves, what we should be doing.
Well, the first thing is that what did you do over the summer? Most people don't use their wood stoves, so what do? They have a tendency to put some plants on it, move some stuff around it, you know, probably tweaked a few things in that living room or that family room. So you want to stand back and you want to go, okay, where is my wood stove? Do I have anything combustible that has gotten too close to it? Okay, most of the folks that have wood stoves are what I call experienced and are comfortable. Understand what that distance should be. All of your wood stoves have stickers on them or details that'll tell you how far combustibles need to be away from it. And if not, if you can't find a sticker, if you've got the name, many times you can go online. But the real thing is use a little bit of common sense. Okay, you know, if you've put some potted plants or you've put something at the chair a little closer than normal, you just want to go back and move it away a little bit. You want to make sure that it's been cleaned. Okay, make sure that the stovepipe's been cleaned. Make sure you don't have any creosote buildup. You know, some of you folks that have experienced a chimney fire, it can actually be very frightening. And one of the reasons for it is that almost everybody I talk to will tell me it sounded like a freight train coming through my house.
Oh, wow, okay.
And when you think about it, that creosote builds up because as the hot air starts to work its way up the chimney, it starts to cool. So what it's bringing starts to cool, starts to cling to the walls. And that's how that creosote builds up.
Gotcha.
Remember we talked about outside? Just when you're looking outside, it's just a reminder, look at that spark arrestor. Make sure that you can see through those vents.
Okay.
That's a simple good sign, at least from the outside. And of course, on the inside, open it up, make sure it's clean. Okay. Most folks, I would strongly suggest, since you know I don't like working on the roof unless I have to, that's something that I'd have a professional do.
Right.
They've got the equipment to take care of the inside of the house, so you don't make a mess. And they have all the equipment to take care of the outside and that. So I would have it cleaned before you use it.
And don't wait till the last minute either, because I found that over the last few years of having to do this each year, the longer I wait, the busier that person is, and the longer back it is before I get somebody in there. So, you know, it could be end of October early November before I get somebody that can actually come and work on it. So maybe think about that in August into September.
Yeah, be proactive.
Just get it done.
Be proactive, and then you'll have it where they're not as busy, and it just makes your life a little easier and can potentially schedule it works better for you. All
right, let's take our first break. Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The inherent right to work is one of the elemental privileges of a free people. Endowed, as our nation is, with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all, we approach re-employment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
Donate to Goodwill, where your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community.
Because of Shriners Hospitals for Children, I can play basketball. I could climb stairs. I can write my name.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, love is caring for a child, regardless of the family's ability to pay. If you know a child we can help, visit ShrinersHospitalsForChildren.org.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking about just basic wintertime safety things around your house with Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson. Every year, I want to make sure I get this in because every year we do this story and every year I go, oh, I hate this story. And we did it several times this last winter where somebody put, maybe they hadn't used their wood stove or fireplace for a couple of weeks. They took the ashes out, they put them in a cardboard box, they set them out there on their back porch on the wood deck, and a breeze or something comes by and all of a sudden the box is on fire, the deck is on fire, the house is on fire, the wood pile's on fire. I hate that story. Or they put it in a plastic bucket. Or even last year we had a few instances where I remember the hot ashes were just thrown out in the backyard, in the grasses. Mm-hmm. And that is just a horrible story to know that if you just put it in a metal bucket and let it sit there for a while and then take it into a trash can, a metal trash can, metal, and poured it in there and put a lid on it and left it there for a while, there'd be no fire.
You bet. And it's unfortunately, it seems to happen every year. Mm-hmm. And somebody, they get in a hurry. And I think they have great intentions. I'm just going to put it out here, and they get distracted. So when you think about it, get yourself a small galvanized can with a tight-fitting lid.
Yep.
And then just when you empty them, put them in. And people have told me, well, I didn't use it for 4 days. I mean, and they talk about it. Well, here's what happens. You have some of those hot ashes that are still in there because they're insulated. When you think of all that ash that's in there. So you take that, you put it in the can, and let's say it's a plastic can or box or whatever it is, and it's insulated. Breeze comes along, blows a little of that stuff off. Next thing you know, it's got exposure, or some of those hot ashes have gotten too close to your container. Mm-hmm. So something as simple as metal can, tight-fitting lid, and then what do we do when you go camping? You make it in mud.
Yeah.
Throw some water, stir it up, make sure it's cold. If you're going to use it, and a lot of people use them in their yard, put them somewhere where it's safe. Like if you got a garden, put it in the garden. Put it in somewhere that, but make sure it's dead out. And that is the key. And we kind of forget that. And it's because we have great intentions, but we forget. And then unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. You know, and a lot of these types of fires, you know, they happen in the evening, at night. We've talked about it with smoke alarms. You know, it's those early morning fires which end up being those deadly fires.
Right.
I've had people tell me, well, you know, if there's a fire in my house, I'm going to hear it. And I go, well, you may hear it. Well, I'm a light sleeper, but you may hear it. Because think of the byproducts that a fire puts off. Those byproducts are going to want to encourage you to go to sleep.
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons why I encourage folks to sleep with their bedroom doors closed. And yes, I understand. I've talked to plenty of parents. My wife wasn't thrilled about it either. Why? I want to listen for the kids. I want to hear when my teenage son comes home, or I want to listen for the little ones. And I understand. So it's an educated decision. But think about what that door will buy you if you happen to unfortunately have a fire in your home.
A little extra time, maybe.
A little extra time.
Right.
And so these are some of the things for you to watch. And the other thing is, you know, watch out for your neighbors a little bit. You know, if you happen to see something that's going on with your neighbor, you see them cleaning it out and they put it in the wrong container, just remind them, you know, so that, because that can make a difference.
Metal.
Metal.
Metal bucket. I got a metal pail next to my wood stove, and I got a metal garbage can outside.
We've made a big...
Metal.
The Sedona Fire District's made a big push with the big issue with many of the restaurants now are these wood-fired pizza ovens or wood-fired type, you know, cooking that they're doing. And so we require all the restaurants that have those to provide us with a written plan of how they dispose of their ashes. And the written plan's cool, and it isn't just giving me the plan. What I'm trying to do is say, here's your written plan. You need to follow it. Make sure everybody understands to follow it, so that you don't have somebody who's trying to do the right thing, clean it out, get rid of it, move on to the next thing. They understand the steps that need to be taken, so they in turn don't have a fire.
There's a reason for this plan.
Yes.
Fireplaces, do you think that's pretty much the same as a wood stove?
Fireplaces,
in terms of ashes? And,
yep, same issue with that. Just remember that heat's radiant from the front, things that we talked about with your wood stove and so forth. Just pay attention to what's going on, pay attention to what's up in front. When you open it up to put more fuel on it, just really pay attention. That's probably I'm going to say that time when something can go wrong. So you want to make sure you're paying attention, because think about it. You throw another log on it. What's that log going to do? It's going to cause some sparks to go up and so forth.
Right.
So important that you don't have anything around that.
Okay.
The same token, you got little kids. Remember how hot that is. So maybe you need to come up with a little barrier so that the kids can't get too close to it.
Hot, don't touch. Okay. Another one that we hear about every year, and it's always very tragic, is space heaters. They're great. I mean, you put it in a room and you can heat it up a little bit, but they can be pretty dangerous, space heater.
You bet. And heating safety is really important, because during the course of the year, kitchen fires, that's the leading cause in that area, is kitchen fires. Okay. However, when it starts to get cold, we see heating fires start to climb up. So the first thing, have your furnace inspected, just like we talked about with the wood stove or the fireplace. Have it inspected.
Okay.
It could very well help with the efficiency, avoid problems down the road. We've all seen it when it gets super hot the first few shots, and you know, the AC is a good example. You know, and what you mentioned about being proactive so that you're not having to wait in line to get somebody there. So think about that. The issue that you have with these portable heaters is twofold. Number one, you want to make sure that you plug it in directly into the outlet.
Okay.
Okay. These are pulling a bunch of power, and if you don't think they are, just when you have them on, go feel the cord. You'll feel the warmth of the cord from that resistance.
Okay.
You don't want to use an extension cord. Number two, you want to put it in a place where combustibles, you know, make sure it's not too close to in the bedroom, not too close to the any of the furniture, any of the bedding. Same thing in the living room. You don't want to walk out and leave it, especially if you have pets.
You don't want clothes over the top. You don't want towels being tossed on top of it.
No, none of that stuff when you think about it. Okay. But you know, and animals have a tendency, they like it. I mean, we've got a little dog that we have that I got from my youngest daughter, and he loves it when it's warm. You know, during the summer he'll be out there, like right now he'll go out and get in the sun in the afternoon, warm up. Same token, you want to make sure that your animals can't get too close to it. Okay. Couple things work. On some of the older units, they're designed for tip over. So if they tip down flush, what'll happen is they'll shut off. Some of them have thermal couplings in them. When they get too hot, they'll shut off. So you want to make sure, take a look at it, make sure it's intact. You can't put your fingers in it, and the cord's not broken or damaged. And if it is, don't use it. Dispose of it. If you're going to dispose of it, cut the cord.
Cut the cord.
That way, if it isn't safe, if you don't feel it's safe for you to use, cut the cord and throw it away.
All right, we've got to take our second break. Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson in the studio today. Some wintertime fire safety tips for you. Stick around. Countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
You're doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button to seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep
pedaling.
pedaling.
Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
This new mom is struggling to get the skates just right. And now she's holding on for dear life. Her kids can see she may have broke her knees. They still love her though she looks like she's attacked by killer bees. I'm allergic, prove you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left of the program. The only thing I don't think we've hit is pipes.
You bet. So think about it. If you unfortunately had a froze pipe, if one of your pipes had frozen, you can tell it's my Monday, Tuesday, Monday.
I'm with you.
Anyway, so do you know where to turn the water off?
I do.
Good. Do you know where to turn your gas off, whether it's natural gas or propane?
I don't have any gas.
Well, see, but for those who don't, just make sure you understand where to turn it off. And last but not least, know where you can turn your breakers off. And all your breakers should be labeled. Okay, so in a lot of cases they're not. If we come to your house and there's an issue, if we can isolate it, we'll isolate it. Otherwise, what's the choice? The only other choice is for us to turn the main breaker off. So just think about that and understand where they are. That way in an emergency, it could very well make a difference.
How often is that box actually labeled?
Typically new home construction, it gets done. And if it is labeled, what I tell folks to do is take a picture of it and then save that somewhere, so that if it's not, if it's not there, then you can go, whoops, a piece of paper disappears. I have mine in pencil. When I was doing mine, I was writing in pencil trying to figure it out, because when I bought my house, about half of them were labeled. And so I just kind of, every time I did a little job or something, I would figure out what I had to turn off and do that, and I just labeled them in pencil, and I just took a picture of it. And that way, if something happens, I don't look at it for a while, I can't read it or whatever, I got a reference back to it.
All right, Gary, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Remind everybody to get new batteries for their smoke alarms.
Make sure you change out your batteries.
Get a smoke alarm.
Yep, make sure you have smoke alarm.
Have all that stuff going.
You bet. And if you have any questions, contact your local fire department or the Sedona Fire District. We'll gladly answer your questions or come out and assist you if we can.
All right. Thanks. Good seeing you again.
Thanks
for coming in. That's today's Countywide. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you again next time.